The first reading for today addressed the evolution of women in the gaming industry. The piece begins with emphasis on the girls' games movement and the factors that brought it about. While the girls' games movement attempted to include women in the video gaming world, it did not necessarily succeed. Many designers focused on the stereotypes of, quote, the girl, relying on pretty colors and traditionally female interest areas. The issue with this view is that women are all individuals, and no collective set of characteristics will attract them all. Not to say that the entire movement was unsuccessful. Sims used a create-your-own storyline model to attract more women without explicitly marketing to them. Look at the effects of this movement. More women do regularly play video games, and the majority of women have played video games at some point in their life. For women actually working in the industry, however, there has been virtually no increase. The main takeaway from this first reading is that even a decade-long targeted movement to include women in the gaming industry has had limited success. As of 2012, 47% of gamers were women. But why do we not see this reflected in how games portray women? This reading opens with the history of, quote, computers as women who did the mathematical calculations during World War II. It was these women who developed and programmed the first technological computer. At some point, a shift took place and computer programming became viewed as a man's job and women were shut out of the industry. The article goes on to criticize how women avatars represent male fantasies of what a woman should look like, while online communities harass and ironically look down on players who are female. Most importantly, this article expands the issues in the gaming world into an issue of the entire world. It argues that the misogynistic ideas shown in games are actually a direct effect of the way that our society treats men and women differently, and how all genders subscribe and sustain these ideas. The third and final reading uses the specific example of Lara Croft Tomb Raider. Comparable games tended to have American males as the protagonists, but the game's developers decided to break the mold by making all the villains American males and instead focusing on a British female. When creating the game, they were careful to create a strong, smart, competent, non-sexual, though still attractive, character. This original Lara is in the top left corner. The reason the main developer left the project is because, as Lara was being released, she was beginning to be portrayed as a sexual being as opposed to the original vision. This can be seen by the bottom left image, which came from a later remake of the game, and the movie version featuring Angelina Jolie. This reading works in tandem with the previous reading to imply that the gender stereotyping in games stems from issues in society rather than within the industry itself. When we look at all three pieces in conjunction, we see a very broad and detailed picture of the gaming industry's attitude toward women. Together, they show an industry that now has female players, but does not include or accurately represent them in all the other parts of the process. The three readings did a good job of explaining why it is this way, but should it or must it be this way? How do games reflect reality? Are games the result of thoughts and ideas of society, or do they help influence those ideas? Should they be designed to appeal to the interests of the market, or as McGonagall proposes in her book, should they be used as tools to project the ideals we should strive for? Do you think it is even possible for games to have this influence? What are the implications of how games influence or are influenced? Please discuss.